Berkshire Hathway, it's not just a global brand, it's the legacy of no other than the legendary Warren Buffett. Berkshire Hathway, through its property brokerage arm, Berkshire Hathway HomeServices, has entered into Indian market in association with local partner Orenda India. Ideally, this should have met the headlines. But then the experience in this part of the world, with many such global entry, many such global associations and collaborations, have not always been pleasant. Even the entry of Trump has not been without controversies in India. Will the Berkshire Hathway HomeServices and Orenda India make a difference? Well, to start with, they have a very young, dynamic team over here, added to the fact that some industry veterans are backing this association. And this association promises to change the property landscape in this part of the world. What are their plans? How do they want to roll out their scheme of things in a market which is very cluttered, which is very unorganized, and property brokerage is still to emerge out of the uh, unorganized set of players spread across the country. To know all this, today I have with me Sanya Aryan, who is the Chief Advisor and Marketing and Communication with Berkshire Hathway HomeServices and Orenda India. Welcome, Sanya. So my first question is that you have entered into a space which is very cluttered in this part of the world. When it comes to property brokerage, the first impression that goes is it's a very disorganized business. So how do you position yourself in this cluttered space?
That's a great question, Mr. Sinha. Thank you. So, with our association with Berkshire Hathway Home Services, we want to disrupt the Indian real estate market by providing world-class experience, along with using cutting-edge technology, by following the core values and principles of longevity, trust, integrity, and transparency. So, we want to bring global mindset and global best practices to the Indian real estate by bringing in 100% transparency between buyers and sellers, and thus easing out the whole process of a real estate transaction.
You have a great brand association, but many such brand associations in the past have not worked in India. Even the Trump association in India has been not without the controversy. So how do you plan to take it forward in a manner that Berkshire emerges out as the leading player in that space?
So I don't know about the other players, and it wasn't with us. But we do believe that we have it in us. We have the potential to disrupt the Indian real estate market, like I mentioned earlier, and with the world's number one brand, of course, we have an access to Berkshire Hathway Home Services global listing syndication and professional training and ongoing education. There's something called as exclusive luxury collection marketing. Um, our agents will also have an access to Berkshire Hathaway Home Services active referral and relocation networks. And its Forever Cloud Technology Suite, which is a powerful lead for lead generation. It's a powerful source for lead generation and marketing support, social media, video production, distribution, and so much more. We also have access to so many portals and publications of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, which includes Global Mansion, Prestige Journal, um, Wall Street Journal, Huawei, which is China's number one property portal, and even NetJets. NetJets is owned by Berkshire Hathaway, which is basically world's largest private jet company. So its magazine is called NetJets magazine. So we have an access to that as well. So the global network that is coming in, we are hoping that we actually revolutionize the real estate market using the tools and the platform that Berkshire Hathaway Home Services brings in.
Can you share something more on this global network? How will that global network leverage from one country to another country?
That's a great question. So we have a platform in place whereby we have all the referrals listed, and now our agents have an access to that portal whereby they can connect to anybody sitting in Mexico, US, Canada, sitting anywhere, any part of the world, any Berkshire Hathway Home Services franchise, and they are just a click away. They're just a message away. There is a system in place whereby they can connect with anybody which is a franchise network member of Berkshire Hathway Home Services just by a click. They are just an email away, and we are recently exposed to something called as real estate IQ system, which combines Berkshire Hathaway Home Services marketing, global listing syndication, video production, and they have basically associated themselves with brands like Canva, Videolicious, which are world's best brands. So our agents have an access to all these brands just because we have an access to their portal, their platform.
And you will have your offices across the country, or you want to leverage the tie-up with the local property agent?
So we are planning to expand pan India, inclusive of cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad, Ahmedabad, Chennai, Kolkata, and we also want to, in fact, expand to Goa and Ayodhya in the next few months. And of course, in the next few years, I've just mentioned the cities and with a few thousand advisors.
And you will have your own offices over there, or you want local property agents to join you?
So those are a few things that we are still deciding and strategizing over, and those are the things that they are in pipeline. And I would not like to divulge that information right now. And then we'll definitely keep you posted on the same.
And focus is more on residential or commercial?
Focus is on residential, commercial, institutional. Honestly, wherever we see potential and wherever we see demand, we will cater to that. And pre-COVID, post-COVID. So I think real estate is something which is always and will always be in demand. Of course, the external circumstances, only its pivots keep changing. For example, right now we have a circumstance in front of us, which is pandemic. So pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, there has been a lot of shift in demand. And the commercial properties that have probably, the prices have gone down by 7 to 10%. The commercial properties have obviously taken a dip, but this has obviously invited, as we have seen, this has invited foreign investment from well-heeled NRIs, which have better access to capital. And residential sector, of course, we know has, been on a rise. And of flexible workspaces have definitely become prominent as compared to office spaces, which was pre-COVID. And people want to now shift to larger spaces. Post-pandemic, they want to shift to larger spaces. They can move away from the cities because big corporates and big MNCs are infusing work from home culture in their companies. So there is a shift in demand, and we want to cater to every potential that we see in any industry. Warehousing, as we speak, e-commerce has obviously, we know how significantly e-commerce has increased post-pandemic, and now there is companies, all these e-commerce companies like Amazon. I was just reading today an article, another company also, they want to create their fulfillment inventory centers. So there is an increase in warehouses. So of course, I think these pivots keep changing in real estate, but wherever we see demand, we will cater to it. Be it any.
Among the cities that you have mentioned, Ayodhya is an interesting choice. Any specific reason, or just because of the Ram Mandir thing you are going over?
I think because of recent developments there, it has a huge potential. And Ayodhya has a huge potential in terms of a lot of it's inviting a lot of tourism, and tourism from within country as well because of recent developments. And there's an airport that is coming up, which is 20 kilometers away from the city. There is not a big name in real estate, there's not a key player of real estate there present. So I think there's a lot of potential, and we can see a lot of development potential happening there, because India as a country, it's a developing country, and there's a lot of potential in terms of infrastructure. And we can see that obviously digital infrastructure has become indispensable today. But in Ayodhya, the conservative, the traditional real estate infrastructure also needs to be developed. So I think there's a lot of potential, and that is why we have mentioned Ayodhya.
So you are also open to get into many other tier 2 and tier 3 cities also, right?
Definitely, definitely.
So,
Lucknow, Varanasi, yeah.
so while most of the other large size brokerage firms are looking at the metro cities, Berkshire Hathway would like to penetrate into smaller cities now.
Definitely. We want to get into places where we see there is potential, be it metropolitan, be it tier 2 and tier 3 cities.
I just have one question over here. Don't you think when you say tier 2 and 3 cities, uh, see, prop tech is something which has trust deficit issues in this part of the world because most of the transactions are face to face transactions in those smaller cities. So, how do you plan to tackle that challenge?
Well, I think, Mr. Sinha, that there's a lot of, now there's a lot of development that is taking place in tier 2 and tier 3 cities when it comes to development, when I talk about commuting, when I talk about, you know, transportation, public transportation. It's not the same anymore that was a decade ago, and there is a lot of development that we are seeing now. So because of which there is a lot of demand in luxury segment, because millennials can finally trust their own city to have such infrastructure support, you know. So I think that these cities are no more, they are moving towards metropolitan cities, and they are moving towards more development in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the transport network that is coming up. So I think it's not the same anymore, and then we would like to penetrate into these cities, because um, I don't know about the player that you're talking about, they have failed, or there is a trust issue. But I think a developing country will always have such challenges, and we have to overcome them.
Great. So, post pandemic, do you see any major shift in the buyer's mindset?
Of course, there has been a major shift in the buyer's mindset when it comes to residential segment. For example, we see that people want to, shift away from the cities into peripheries. So that's why, we can see that there is a 10% increase in residential transaction in Gurgaon, and the proximity to Southern Peripheral Road, NH8, the golf course road, extension golf course road. We can see that there is the proximity to this has been prominent, and people want to now incorporate work from home culture. All these big MNCs and companies are doing so. So people want larger spaces. So without increasing the budget, they want to shift away from the cities, because now the companies are okay with them working from home, and they want to shift to peripheries with larger spaces. They can incorporate the work from home, the office space in their residential property. People want to work out, they want to exercise. It has only been reinforced in pandemic how important health is. So they want to exercise because we don't have access to gyms anymore. And the kids, they are doing digital schooling these days as opposed to going to schools offline. So they want to have study rooms for their children. So all these things seem, and working couples especially, there has been a rise in growing working population, and people want their own space as working couples. So of course they want bigger spaces, larger spaces, and so they're okay to get into the peripheries. Hence, in fact, people who have migrated back to their hometowns from cities, um, that is why we can see rise in residential demand in tier 2 and 3 cities, because they've gone back to their hometowns, and they are demanding for new houses. They're demanding for flexible office spaces, flexible workspaces. So as I mentioned before, warehousing is coming up, because warehouses are now in demand, because e-commerce companies need their fulfillment centers for their inventory, to fulfill the digital needs that people are ordering only online these days. So a lot of changes have come up. As I mentioned, flexible office spaces. People are now asking for flexible office spaces as opposed to traditional offices that were in demand pre-COVID. So I think It keeps changing.
The kind of plans you have to get into tier 2 and tier 3 cities, what is the fiscal top line that you are trying to achieve?
Well, I think good question. I would say, like I mentioned before, it is 100% transparency. And as we penetrate further into tier 2 and 3 cities, the challenge of this unorganized ecosystem keeps becoming bigger. So we are trying to overcome that, and it has been great that with our association we can do this following the core values and principles of integrity, trust, transparency, longevity, which these are the core values which are infused in its hierarchy from roots to shoots. So we want to achieve, I think, something called as trust factor is huge, so we would like to touch on that.
In terms of financial goal, what is the figure that you are trying to hit? How much of business do you see?
Well, we would like to definitely take up a significant share in the market. We would like to significantly contribute to India's GDP, to employing so many Indians, as we say by statistics. By 2022, 67 million Indians would be employed in real estate sector, and then real estate is supposed to be second largest employment generator in India, only after agriculture. Uh, so there's not a exact figure that I would give you right now, because that's something we are still working on. Everything is in pipeline, but I would definitely tell you that it will be a significant share.
And you want to get the maximum share coming out from tier 2 and 3 cities, right?
Well, that is something that we would like to decide once we have, entered the market, and this is pertaining to just our launch. We have just entered, so of course our research team is on it, and we would like to tell you that once after our press release is done with.
Pin Sanya Aryan, who believes India is a growing country and it's time to look into the markets beyond the top 10 cities. Berkshire Hathway and Orenda India is pretty clear that the real growth opportunity lies in tier 2 and 3 cities as well. That is one of the reasons they have not just identified the top 10 cities, but a place like Ayodhya is on their radar. They are also looking to explore more and more tier 2 and 3 cities, which could be the engines of growth moving forward. Will Berkshire Hathway make a difference in the in the tier 2 cities, an area which has yet to witness organized property brokerage? We all know that property brokerage is pretty disorganized even in the top tier cities, and this is one player. This is one global brand which promises to change the landscape even in tier 2 and 3 cities. Will they succeed? Well, they have just begun. And plans are to change the property landscape in those growth corridors where no other organized player has so far entered. It will be interesting to see to what extent they succeed in this. With this, I'm signing off. Thank you.